Hi Tony. So what you're looking at there is just a little front page idea that I did while I was doing the style tile, kind of as part of the style tile. That's a few reasons why I did it, but anyway, I'm kind of gonna bring you through. I'm probably going to say this in an email anyway, but I'm going to bring you through, or on the phone or whatever, just this document to just let you explain what it is and how to kind of appraise it. So for a start, that doesn't have to be your front page at all, or your billboard is what I'm referring to this as. It could be anything, could be a different photograph, but to be using these elements probably. There's another style that I could do of homepage in particular, but I think this is the best way to go. But anyway, we could chuck this in the bin is all I'm saying. It's not necessarily, nothing is about this. This is only an example. Now the rest of it is a bit different, and I just put that down there. I just because you were talking about the free stuff, so some version of that text there or that kind of thing. Obviously, if you were going with this, we could rearrange it any way you wanted it. That's just one of the photos I took, obviously, with my camera. I thought it came out great. Wasn't crazy about this stuff over here, but I just leave it. I don't think I wouldn't go airbrushing it because it's fine. It's nothing. It's just lovely, I think. It's just normal. But see what you think yourself, or of course you could get a photographer in to come and take the exact same photo in a, but I personally just think it's lovely. But anyway, as I said, it's all example. We can show the whole thing in the bin if you want. And I'll come up with a different front page idea. But anyway, the rest of the style tile then is all, this also is more the same sort of thing as well. This is just, an example of some of the, you remember you were talking about the photographs, and these are kind of replications, if you like, of the 4 photographs that were on the original. There was somebody was in a forest, somebody was on a phone, there was stars, and there was some kind of a boardroom or something like that. So, these are very readily available and easily searchable in Squarespace, which isn't a luxury I've had before. So we could really kind of have fun, if you like, putting in photographs in places and swapping them out. Like you'll be able to even swap them out yourself, keeping them current going forward if you're not getting us to do it. But anyway, so that's just a little example of those photographs. Where we'd use those, another story. Actually, probably what I'd probably be recommending is that we would take your 3 or 4 or 5. Oh yeah, this would be full screen, so that would go, I can't get it to the edge on this, but it would go the whole way to the edge. And what I was saying was that there could be, they'd look a little bit like these photographs. If you've seen them before, it'd be like the photograph is effectively like a little bit of text and a title, and the whole thing is like a button. And this would be a button to your conveying thing. This would be a button to something else. They don't have to have photographs in them. The main thing is that we get, I'd suggest anyway, that you're up there on right underneath whatever is done as a billboard. Or that's the other style, by the way, I was talking about, is to actually do what I'm going to describe now instead of a billboard. But you can do it either way, and we can mix it up if you want. But the idea anyway is to have down here a kind of, I call it a quick link section, where you can go click, click, click straight into your main things, like to really get people, if they haven't already pressed this button, they're going to be pressing one of these buttons, kind of a thing, unless they wanted this stuff. But anyway, that's kind of the start of the style tile is here then. So this is just what I wanted to explain to you, that normally I'll be trying to write text and sort of stuff on this, and I'm doing it in video now. I think it's a bit better. So basically, these are just start down here. This is your palette as it stands. And the idea with this document is that if you don't like that as a palette or something, that we'd come back and we'd mess with it until we got this right. You'll see examples of the colors as you go through it, and I can give you more examples or whatever. And then once we get this right, then we'll build the website, completely, like build the style side of the website. So the same then with the buttons, like those are your buttons, right? So, but I could give you a button with a round corner, for instance, or a pill-shaped button. These are just a bit more modern at the moment. Or this is called a ghost button. So as I was saying, basically the idea is that you can see, you're looking at examples here, and excuse me. And if once, we'll, if you like those as it is, then that's your buttons done. And all the buttons on the site look like these, and same with everything on the site. So, or everything on this page. So, style tile, I mean. So if you are like, oh, I don't like something, then, or not sure if that'll work, then we could get it, we could go back over it in this document, fix it it doesn't really matter how many times it takes to get it right, and then I'll know exactly the style for the site roughly. So then this is then the most important part of it is the typography. So this is probably, it'd probably be more, I'm just zooming out here, you know, it's probably going to be more like that. I can give you an actual online what's called living style sheet with this if you want, you know, if you want to get the actual type, but the relative you know, heights and all that, like, so I've you know, of these things, these are all relative to one another, and it's meant to kind of look cohesive as a kind of a bit of text. Now, just to say that the fonts that I picked, that's your font from your logo, and I just got this font here is called Crimson Text or something, and this one's called Railway, and I used Railway in the buttons as well, actually. Yeah, it's got a nice W. But we could, like, that one is, you see, if you look carefully at this one, it's got little tails on all the letters. So that's a serif, and they'd be probably a bit more traditional and a bit more kind of authoritative, and, you know, kind of way legal documents would be usually done in serif, although these days they're probably all done in, you know, not sans serif, but it has a class kind of a look to it, whereas this is kind of more of a modern look to it. But you can use both together, so that's what I did. But I could put a serif up there either, or I started with serif because your original, this is a serif, you know. It's a very kind of a fancy serif, so it's a beautiful J, like. But so I thought that the Crimson Text went well with that, and then that's Railway is just what I ended up using there. I was trying Crimson Text up there as well. I didn't like it as much, but all this is for the talking about, or you can just go, oh, Bob, I love it, it's grand, and we'll move on. But you might have loads to say about it. We'll talk. But then these are examples of the heading sizes, and again, I'm using Railway there, and I think that's Crimson Text to use for the numbers. Usually check the numbers font because not all fonts work well for numbers. So then that's the main thing really, is the type, the buttons, and you know, if we get these three right, then the website really couldn't be wrong. You might be thinking layout is important at this point, but it isn't really, because what goes where is sort of arbitrary. It's a bit like the furniture in your office, a bit you can move it around after the fact in the modern system. So we can get through the layout quite quickly. The layout of the front page is quite important. So that's kind of one of the reasons that I put the billboard up there. But we'll get to that pretty soon. But then this is an example of a panel or a sidebar just in a different color, and one of the colors above, obviously. And this is an example of the form. Okay, this is, if we zoomed in, it should be more like this or something like that. There's obviously lots of different colorings that I could do on the form. In fact, we could do some, and we'll be keeping them all to one color. Yeah, that's a darker color for a form. You wouldn't normally do it in that color, but you could. So I just put it in like that. I could leave a brown border, or, you know, it doesn't have to be brown, but it could do a border with a pale part in here as well. It's a bit more common with black letters, but I just did it that way. So any little details that you have that you liked, didn't like, the main thing will be that if you could have a quick look at it and kind of get back to me quick, with me to get back to you kind of quick again, we could just do a bit of a tennis match about it, and because you could come back to me again then, you know, as long as we're not going around in circles, like, you know. Yeah, the main thing is that, like, I'm not completely on the wrong track altogether, like, you know, especially with the type, because it really does boil down to the type and the colors, because, you know, a button is a button at the end of the day, and you can only do it so many ways. So if you have the type and the colors right, that's going to dictate everything else, you know. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say. Just a second. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get this to you. You know, with so you can see it, because when you open it up, when I'll send you the file, and when you open it up, it'll look like this. So I think it's, and most of the time it's hold down Control or Command if you're on a Mac, and scroll in to get it bigger, and you can hold down Alt in this computer or whatever it is on a Mac, and you can pan around, so you can scroll and pan and do that type of thing. But hopefully that works out for you anyway. Okay.